So welcome to today's podcast. We're talking to Jeannette. So Jeannette, just want to introduce yourself, and also if you can give us your correct pronunciation of your surname, which I always get wrong.
My surname, it's Jeannette, and then the last name is Hoftijzer.
That's the name I get wrong.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are today, and that'd be great. And then we're going to dive into some more questions about exploring teaching and the use of movement and performance and rehab and that story.
Yeah. I'm graduated as a physiotherapist a long time ago. So that's obviously my background, being a physiotherapist. And after that, I studied manual therapy. And I think after a couple of years working as a manual therapist, I moved more in the movement health. And I'm also always interested in more helping people how to move well, or in exploring what they can do, like sports or activities, then focusing on pain and pain treatment. And that's also a big part of working as a physiotherapist. But I try to do it more like seeing what people can do instead of what they can't do.
Perfect. Okay, so that's this gets us going. And where are you today? Sort of just give us a little bit of context about sort of exactly where you are in the world.
You mean in like a physiotherapist?
No, as in geography.
Oh, I'm in the Netherlands. Yeah. I'm living south of Rotterdam, so close to the coast. And I'm living in a countryside area. I'm surrounded by farmers, cows, etc., etc., but also close to the city. So it's a bit of both. Yeah.
All right. So not far from Rotterdam then?
No.
Okay, perfect. So you've given us a little bit of story about sort of education and moving through what you've done since, but I'm taking it all the way back. Why physiotherapy in the first place?
Yeah, I liked to do sports when as a kid, and especially competition in sports. So at first I wanted to be a gymnastics teacher, teaching sports in a high school. But I think 2 months before the school started, I was thinking, maybe I'm not the person working with kids who are really, not that fanatic as I am in sports, a little bit lazy maybe. And I think that should be really frustrated for me. And then 1 month before school starts, I switched to physiotherapy, because it was in the same school building, and these two educations, they work together. So and that's also I think because my physiotherapy education was really movement based or sports based, because it was a collaboration between the sports education school and the physiotherapy school. There's some things we did together, like sports, anatomy, etc., etc. So I think different from other physiotherapy educations. Of course, we had also the theoretical background, but it was really a practical way of teaching physiotherapy.
So then, so at that point, you made a big change of what you were going to do, and within a month, you changed to doing something else. And it sounds like that was quite a fortunate decision with respect to the type of physio course you ended up upon, because many times we talk to our fellow tutors and they're talking about, well, it was a lot of manual therapy, there was a lot of modalities, and there wasn't any exercise in there involved, or just a very small part that was inclusive of exercise. So that was quite progressive, it sounds. Okay, so you're in this process of education. It's physio, but it's also got a strong sports component to it. There's exercise embedded in what you're doing. And then, so from graduating, what does that first job look like? Is it more within private practice, or is it more within a sort of sports-focused outcome?
It was in a hospital in Switzerland. Yeah, because there was a lot of unemployment in the Netherlands. And I had a job in a hospital, but it was a temporary job. And when it finished, I moved to Switzerland. I worked in a small hospital over there. So we had the possibility to go with the clients or with the patients to the doctors, looking at surgeries, etc., etc. So that was my first job. And after 1.5 years, I came back to the Netherlands, starting my manual therapy education, worked in a private practice, and then combined it, studying manual therapy and working in a private practice. Yeah.
All right. So again, the journey so far then is you've switched to physio very quickly from doing something potentially else, and then you're switching country to go start working in this new profession. Okay. And then you come back to the Netherlands at that point. All right. Now, somewhere along the line, you start getting exposed to something called kinetic control. And how does that happen? And also, what does that change what you're doing? Because it sounds like you've already got this sort of movement-focused approach anyway.
Yeah, I in the last year of my manual therapy education, Shirley Sharman came over from the US to teach 1 week on a movement impairment way of looking at physiotherapy. And that really opens my mind. I think, okay, how she approaches physiotherapy, how she looks at problems people have in moving, chronicity of pain, chronicity of mobility problems. So that really opens my mind, and also that she had some tests, and she had also worked on a sort of framework. And then I come home again because I did my therapy in Switzerland also, and then I came home, and then I was looking for, are there any courses in the Netherlands familiar with that? And Shirley also named Mark Comerford and Sarah Mottram. So, and I found out that in the Netherlands there were KC courses at the time. So I just signed in for a course, went there, and that's the way I get involved with Kinetic Control.
All right. So it's I guess quite kind of Shirley then to sort of give the nod to the Kinetic Control guys and say, actually, go and look at what they're doing. And it so happens there was some KC happening in the Netherlands. And who were teaching those courses?
I can remember that it was Mark. It's a long time ago, but it was I think it was Mark and Sarah who teaches at the time in the Netherlands, and like there are now, there were modules focusing on low back and hip, module for the neck. So I signed in for all these modules. But maybe I'm going a little bit quick.
No, it's okay.
But what I was finding interested, because at that time I next to being a physiotherapist, I was a trainer in speed skating.
Yes.
And then I thought, oh, this framework of testing, and then at that time we called that movement control. That was the terminology they used. Can I apply that also not to my clients in the physiotherapy clinic, but also to my skaters? And then I was using it also in my other profession. And then at a point I signed in for another course, had a chat with Mark, so during coffee or lunch, and I told them that I was doing that, applying the KC test to my skaters. And he said, oh, we are working on a new product. It's called the Performance Matrix. And maybe, it should be nice if you come over to the UK, or we have and then at that time we didn't have video calling like we have now. So I think I went to the UK, joined a teachers meeting or something like that, I can imagine. And I get involved with the Performance Matrix.
All right, so Shirley introduces this thing. It's called Kinetic Control. You get to meet Mark and Sarah, and you start applying this stuff not only clinically but also more in a performance setting.
Yeah.
And you then identify there's something coming along called performance matrix, which is much more on the performance outcome side of things rather than on the, say, on the clinical side of things. So that's aligned very nicely with what you've been doing anyway. So that thinking is continuing from what you've been doing with initially Shirley.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned this other profession. So that's probably a good time to sort of just bring that up. So you just talk about speed skating and so how does that all kick off? Because you're going through this education as a physio. I know there's a sports component in that, but then you're also working in private practice. So how do you get involved in more the performance side of things?
Because I did speed skating myself. And then, when I was finishing my own career,
yes,
I started working with young kids. And what I liked about working with these young kids, because speed skating is really a technical sport, and it's a combination of strength and fitness, but also of being really precise in your movement, in your timing, and like we call it, feeling the ice, and then timing your push you push off, etc., etc. So I very quickly see the combination of physiotherapy, working with clients on moving better, feeling better. That's also a brain-body connection, and and I see really the same in learning people doing a good technical skill. So there were a lot of collaborations between it. Yeah.
Okay, so that movement component was within both, and was it the case you were coaching then? You were coaching. Okay.
Yeah.
So physio and coaching. So physio, and then taking some of the tools from physiotherapists into that coaching realm. And at this time, as you're discovering something called the performance matrix, so it's starting to sort of come together as this system, as this package. And what's happening now professionally? Because are you still working in private practice? Because I know at some point you develop your own business and you start moving into working in your own space, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. I started my own clinic 15 years ago, and there was a combination between more insurance-based physiotherapy and more movement-based physiotherapy, focusing on injury prevention and performance enhancement. So I tried to do a combination of both, but now I think the start of this year, I made a decision to quit my more insurance-based physiotherapy. And so I have the time and the possibility to explore to only working in the field of injury prevention and performance enhancement.
So I want to come back to that, because I think that's a really key conversation for us to have around what that looks like. And in previous conversations, we've talked about what's it going to be called and what could it be called and what other people are doing around the world. Just centering on your then experience of kinetic control and performance matrix, at some point with this as well, you decide not only to start using it, but start teaching it. So again, how does that decision come about? Because it's quite a big jump to becoming a tutor of something rather than just, I'm going to use this clinically myself.
Yeah, because it has given me so much more opportunities to work, not more quick fix based, but working more for the longer term. And also KC giving me the opportunity to teach people why they are in having problems or why they are having recurrent pain problems. So it's more the whole package of KC. I'm very enthusiastic about it. That's the main reason I think, I want to show people what they can do more than traditional physiotherapy, and helping people for the longer term, and not only for the quick fix, most based on pain relief.
So that quick fix phrase there, you're talking about pain relief, symptom management, I guess. It's in the immediate, we're going to take this pain away, the pain is gone, but maybe there's some other things that remain that might mean there's recurrence of that particular pain issue. So that interpretation of quick fix, and then deciding to teach your colleagues and peers, so other physios, how to use this. So again, what was the key, I guess, driver for that for you? Why do you want to cross that line of then becoming a teacher?
I think it's based on showing people what the possibilities are of movement. Putting movement as a priority in your clinic, and the long term benefit people have from working with a KC based model in their clinic. And also as a entrepreneur, because when you're owning a clinic, you are that. There are more possibilities than only the insurance-based part of it. And also physiotherapists are, a lot of them are complaining about the commitment of their clients in doing movements or, when you can explain people why they have to do doing movement is not doing a trick or like a circus or something like that. Now it's a part of a process, and when you can people take them with you in that process, they are really more committed. And so as a clinic holder, as an entrepreneur, you can, by working on a KC with a KC based model, you get your clients in, they are committed. They are searching for long-term solutions for their ongoing problems. Or sports people who want to really work hard for enhancing their performance. So, I think you're also the people who are visiting your clinic or choosing you to be your physiotherapist. That's a nice, active, committed group you can work with.
I mean, all the reasons you've given there are very much centered on the value of the system or the approach, which is great, because sometimes people answer the question with, oh, because I liked it so much, if I taught it, I would understand it more. And for one of the reasons I guess I got involved in teaching was because I realized if I could teach it, I would have a good understanding of it. And I'd seen this thing from many different perspectives. But I think all the reasons you've given there have been very much about actually for the patient, for the client, for the end user, what does it do for them? And also, what does it give to the physio additional to what they can already do? So, I mean, that's a great perspective to have on this.
Yeah, and also one point, especially for the Netherlands, is that KC was popular on one time, and then things change in physiotherapy in the Netherlands. We were focusing more on pain behavior and more on the psychological part of being in pain or being injured. And then the popularity of KC went down. And because I was in the Performance Matrix program and not in the KC program. And then, I think I have to do something to build up KC in the Netherlands again. And that's one of the reasons I started teaching KC.
So some of the things we've talked about on the podcast we've done with Andy Barr have been about this sort of where we are now in 2024, and lots of the ideas that if you've got a force plate, well, that's great because you can just measure it, and how high you jump and how much force you produce is really important. And we're often critiquing that, saying, there's other things. There's often the need to consider how you perform these things, how you execute, not just how much force you produce. So I see we go through phases. You've mentioned there's been focus on then pain management, the biopsychosocial, the different parts of that have become really important. And certainly what we see within, I guess, that more sort of sports rehab-y side of things is this reliance that the technology is going to solve everything. And if you're going to measure it, you get a number, that's good, or just get more force out next time. So with Kinetic Control, it's very precise. It's a lot more subtle than that. It's not reliant on just a single number that you need to produce. it's not easy to necessarily also do those tests. It takes quite a lot of skill to learn them and to understand them, rather than just you put somebody on a force plate, press go, we get a number. So that's maybe one of the reasons we are where we are with Kinetic Control currently. I don't know if you've got any sort of perspective on that.
Yeah, I think it's very important, especially, yeah, nowadays when you look at. I'm involved with a couple of youth talent programs, and then you see the children nowadays, they were not reached in their youth by playing outside. They are more inside on laptops, telephones. Not only the children who are not good in sports, but also the children who are good in sports or are invited for such a talent program. So I see like skills requirements for doing a good technique in your sports. Some people some kids just failed it. So then you can measure their fitness, or you can measure then their strength. But there is also a very important requirement in being a good sportsman or woman, and that's hard to measure with these kinds of techniques. Yeah.
So it fits into that skill, coordination under the heading of how you do something, how you execute it, and having the ability, as you talked about earlier, sensing the ice, sensing how you move when you're performing a sport. So that's relationship with your environment, and can you sense it in how you're moving? So yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Now let's spin it back to this conversation around where we are now. So going through physiotherapy, then you're coaching sports as well, and these two things. You've got then private practice business at some point that you're working again with more clinical or more performance outcomes. And then now, 2024, you're in this new place. And there's a conversation around what is that thing? What is that job title? And we said, well, maybe it needs to come from the job description. So, so yes, let's have a little bit about that then. So I'm keen to dive into this. So what's the challenge here? What is that challenge of that job title? What's that going to be?
Good question. Yeah. And I wish I could ask you the question and you have a clear definition for me. But I think now when people are injured, they're seeing a physio, and you're going to do some rehab. And most of the time you see people coming better out of that rehab situation because they're doing a lot of rehab related exercises, and that's benefits their body awareness or their coordination or their skills. So I think and when you look at the staff around a sports program now, with strength trainer and a trainer, a physiotherapist, embedded scientist, etc. There is a gap between these disciplines. Yeah, and I see the gap of the job title more like a movements coach or a skill coach, and the aim is to work on movement variability or movement choices, or all these kind of definitions you put on having loads and loads of possibilities in using muscle synergies, using low threshold muscles, more fast motor units related muscle groups. So when you have loads of range of movement choices, I think that you become better in your strength and conditioning. You become better in the technical part of your sports. You work on injury prevention, and with it all, you work on performance enhancement.
So this is the idea then, that having many a big bandwidth of ways to do things is beneficial. And if there's also not only having a big bandwidth of these things, but you can also access them and maybe display choice in how you access that large bandwidth of doing stuff, achieving the outcome. So lots of ways to execute a task means that you're not going to run out of a way to do it. You can also always find another way to get there, hopefully. Now, this term movement coach is tricky because there are some people out there that call themselves that, and that's fine. It's good. But what they seem to focus on is more, say, in a team sport, they're focused on agility or how you're going to move around the pitch. And that's a movement coach to them. But what we're talking about here, it seems, is it could be inclusive of that. That might be part of the package. But this is also movement at a very fine scale, a very fine level of control. And I don't know how much of that is within some of the existing so-called movement coach approaches. So movement coach is a good term, but has it already been sort of used and hijacked, or would people interpret as something else? So I know that's up there as a possibility. In that job description then, so again, maybe we need to work with the job description rather than the job title. You've talked about working with maybe youth athletes, but also older athletes. And it, again, is that sort of part of this package. So what do you feel that this would offer to them?
To the older athletes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my experience, older athletes, I see a lot of people doing triathlon or running long distances, and it benefits them because, you know, when you're at a certain age, you've had injuries before, and having an injury in the past makes you more, that's more predictable that you get injured again, but also your movement choices, they are not the how do you call that, the
as large as the bandwidth. What do you want to sort of say about that?
I was searching for the word bandwidth. Yeah, it's getting narrowed and narrowed and narrowed, and especially when you're doing running and cycling and swimming, you do it all the same movements. So yeah, working on that more widen your movement options. There, in my experience, they benefit the most in injury prevention. And injury prevention, and then yeah, having the possibilities to train a certain hours a week. So and improving technique. And although I had last year I worked with a 70-year-old granddaddy, and he improved and he started running from his 65 when he when he quit his working career, and then he started doing long distance running. But 5 years later, we're working on his running technique. He set a PB on a 5K,
which is amazing.
And yeah, he was. I developed a program that's called your personal performance plan. And your personal performance plan is based on the running matrix, from the performance matrix, a running analysis, and then combination of these two makes a personal program. And the program is based on widening your movement options. Yeah, so then he was more able to improve his running technique, and then he set a PB. So I think that's people from an older age can benefit like this example, from working on improving your movement skills. And that's because every running trainer tell this 70-year-old man, okay, lift your knees up, running straight up, but he just didn't know how to do it. Yeah, and by improving his movement choices, he was understanding how to run in a better running position, or how to run with knees higher up, because you can have some advice in improving your technique, but when you don't know how to do it, or you don't have the body awareness or the skills to alter your movement while running or while cycling, it's getting, you can have the best coaches, the best advisors, but it starts with knowing how to do it.
So there's a number of things there. There's then this, there's the idea that there's then this sort of, for that person, there's a template of what they need to run like. There's then do they have the actual capacity to do that? And actually, do they have the skill coordination ability to find those things, to actually know what you're talking about and do this change in how they coordinate, and coordinate in terms of segments, that these things are moving differently in respect to one another. So they need capacity, but they also need the range of options in their movements to be able to find those other things. And it sounds like the testing found maybe the options they no longer had, so you could restore those options that they would need in running. And with something so consistent as running, you talked about variability earlier on. So maybe then the same movement done in the same way could be associated to those tissues being challenged and breaking down without sufficient recovery and getting an injury. Where are you now in terms of thinking, well, given what I want to do and given what I have done, how are you gonna describe that? If somebody says, okay, Jeannette, I'm gonna come to you, I'm gonna come and see you every week, but actually I'm just gonna write down what is it you do? What is your job title?
I think movement coach is too general, because when you're translated into the Dutch language, you will be more a coach pushing people moving more, more like for health beneficial reasons. Yeah, moving more.
So more physical activity than
exactly. So I think it's more like skills, improving your skills. So and it's really hard for me to give it one description. It's more easy to tell what it's all about. So when you sign in an appointment, so what can you expect from doing that? Because I already developed that personal performance plan. So I think that's I will keep that title. So what can you expect? What are the outcomes of being into this performance plan? Yeah.
So it's something maybe around skill and coordination coach. It'd be nice to have performance in there, but I guess there's a return to play. There's a rehab component to what you're going to be doing with it. So yes, it's what is that title? We're still sort of trying to narrow it down, but I think you're right. I think movement coach is maybe too general, and that's another factor as well. Of course, when you translate it into another language, all of a sudden you've got another barrier to cross there in terms of what is the correct term. Okay. So I'm going to start rounding it up here in terms of the conversation. Just thinking for physiotherapy, but also for this area of movement coach, whatever that thing is. Where do you think we're going in the sort of the next 5 years or so in terms of what you're seeing out there, what maybe colleagues are doing? What do you think it's going to look like in sort of maybe in 2030? What this zone will look like?
I think we have to see, like the decision I made. I think, you have to make the decision where I want to go with my clinic. Is it more insurance based and having maybe a fitness center on the side, or doing group training? So having products for your existing patients becoming a client, but then you're still are based on insurance-based physiotherapy. I think when you want to work with people who are really seeing you for the long term, doing competitive sports at a certain age, I think there's a split between two ways of working in a clinic.
So a personalized an increasingly personalized approach to this outcome, I think, is where we're going with that. And I'm also seeing that as well with the variety of platforms that people have that they're making, of going, well, you can almost sort of cut out some of the individuals along the way. So the personalized health approach comes straight to the person through a platform online, whether that's sort of mediated by a physio or some other sort of professional along the way. So that sort of personalized approach seems pretty key. I think that's where things will go, facilitated by, no doubt, technology. Okay. You're keen to get it back out teaching again, so it'd be great to sort of get you out back in the world of Kinetic Control and delivering that. So that'd be great to see over the next sort of year or so about where that goes and how that's going to fit alongside what you're doing next, of course.
Yeah, I'm planning to do some modules in the Netherlands next year. Module based on neck and shoulders, so I'm looking forward to that. Teaching is also pushing me to dive into the theory again and to be really on top of the evidence at the moment. So it's really a nice combination. Yeah.
Excellent. I think that mix of being able to sort of deliver it, to work with your colleagues and peers, exploring it critically, but also then to use it with clients and patients is a great way to develop, and both things help each other. So the teaching improves, and the teaching then improves your delivery with people. Yeah, great mix. All right, Jeannette, at this point, thanks for your time today. It's been excellent in terms of these insights and also these decisions we're making and where it's going to go next and what it's going to look like. And I think, I imagine there's probably lots of other physios in the world who are seeing that there is a gap and there is something that needs to emerge that's different to what we've had before because of what we see that works, what is now available. And people continue to get injured. People continue to need improvements in terms of performance. So there's other ways to do this rather than what we've had previously.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I will say goodbye for now and catch you soon.
Catch you soon. Okay. Thank you for your time.